go into the streets and give da'wah to the biggest gangsters. I'm going to take the girls who are in the club, who are in miniskirts, get them into the masjid so they wear niqab.
I just want to start opening people's minds to how they can make money online. Everybody wants to break free from the matrix.
Economic power is essential to even just spread the message. Al-mal was-silah. Wealth is the weapon.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is something different. I want to start bringing on some guests here, sharing some real, genuine stories, inshallah. Today we are joined with brother Imran. You guys know him as dawahman. Bro, how are you?
I'm very well. It's a pleasure to be here, Akhi, man. I just realized I'm going to be the first guest on your podcast. I feel honored.
Yeah. This is the very first one on this channel, for sure, on this channel.
Yes. As in, I meant solo, right? This is your first solo.
No, like on the other channel, I had done a few of them, but
Okay.
on this channel, this is the very first one. So
Beautiful.
I had to bring on a sincere, I don't know, there was a word I was going to use, but a deeply loved brother, inshallah.
MashaAllah. Barakallah.
Habibi.
Barakallah.
So, man, there's a lot of things where we could start. But first off, I would love to know a little backstory because most people, they know you, they know your story and everything. But I want to just say it for context and then bring it into the real stuff. The real stuff, inshallah.
Sure. So, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah ma ba'd. So, akhi, I'm going to take this from a different angle, an angle I haven't taken before, right? So, I actually believe, with Allah's permission, my backstory actually starts in here. It's not necessarily about what I did in the environment that I grew up in when I was young, even though that plays a role in some of the stuff that I saw growing up. But I actually believe, and I've started to realize, that the most significant part of my backstory was the way I used to think as a kid and growing up. For some reason, I always had this mindset of, I want to do something great. And everyone says that, right? But they don't actually know what that means. We're just trained to say and regurgitate, oh, I want to do something great and special. But I used to actually believe that I'm going to change the world. I used to believe I'm going to change the world. Now, I remember my mom, I have a memory, very, 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 very old memory when I was a kid. My mom saying to me that my granddad, my mom's father, when he held me in his arms when I was, I think, a 6-month-old baby, he said, this grandson of mine is going to be great. Now, he doesn't know the future. He's not prophesying. I guess he's just hoping, right? But my mom, when she communicated that to me as a kid, and I was told, your granddad said you were going to grow up to be great. Like, if you tell a kid he's going to be Santa Claus, he's going to believe it. Or, sorry, if you tell a kid Santa Claus exists, he believes it, right? He'll wake up Christmas Day and look under the chimney for presents. Of course, we don't celebrate that Christmas nonsense, but kids believe anything and everything you tell them. So I believed that I'm going to be great. Like, I've been told by my granddad, who's, lived to be 70 plus, saw the world, and he said, this kid's going to be great. So I believed it. When I look at people around me that are not able to accomplish and do the things that Allah gave me the tawfiq to do, I realize the difference between me and a lot of them is just the way we think. So before I was practicing, I always had this chip on my shoulder. Chip on my shoulder is not the right word, but I was always audacious. I always had audacity to dream and want to do things that everyone else didn't want to do. Like, people know from before, I used to be involved in music. This is before, you had like a hip hop scene in the UK. It's not something I'm proud of in any way, shape, or form. It's haram. It's something I repented to Allah for. But like, I actually had the thought of, I'm actually going to do this and I'm going to do it big. May Allah forgive me. Some of the biggest rappers that came out of the UK back in my day, they started off at my studio. Now, the reason I mention this is not because it's something to be proud of, but to show you that when I put myself into something, I was always trying to excel at the highest level. Like, in my mind, I'm competing with Eminem. I'm competing with 50 Cent. I'm competing with the game. Now, I never got to that stage, but that was my mindset. And if Allah hadn't guided me, I believe I would have gone very deep in that world. Likewise, when it comes to giving da'wah, which I spent the last 10 years of my life, Allah wanted me to have a place with regards to the da'wah. I used to say, I'm going to go into the streets and give da'wah to the biggest gangsters. I'm going to take the girls who are in the club, who wear miniskirts, get them into the masjid so they wear niqab. And guess what? It's exactly how I want it to be. Allah Azza wa Jalla made it come true. I actually remember, and I'll leave on this inshallah ta'ala because I can go on, sitting in a living room of one brother who used to be involved in the da'wah, 20, 30 years ago. And he was a grown man, he's 40, he's got kids. And, there was a gathering. I remember I was telling them, this is when I was just new into the da'wah. I was saying, actually, we're going to bring everyone in the world back to the deen. I'm going to give da'wah to all the youngsters. They will all change their life, inshallah. Watch, with Allah's permission. I remember he looked at me and he was like, yeah, we used to think like that. Like we used to think in that way, but we realized, nah, it's not going to happen, Now you just do your part, you do your bit. No, man, I looked at him and I was like, but isn't Allah able to do everything? You believe that, right? And you just have to take the means. It's like, yeah, but it's like it's nice to see that, the youngsters still have hope. And I remember that statement. I didn't realize, but it affected me. It didn't affect me when he said it, nor did it affect me 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years later. It affected me 10 years later. And I started to think, you know what? Maybe there isn't hope. Maybe we just have to do our bit to try and, to avoid the punishment of Allah.
You started to believe it.
Yeah, I started to be. I said, I just want to fall under the hadith where when the punishment of Allah comes, it doesn't hit the one who is giving da'wah. Right? The hadith is not exactly that wording, but that's the point that comes from it, right? So, but then I realized that's a sickness. So now I'm at a point in my life where I'm back at that, I'm protecting my thoughts and I'm being careful people I let around in my ears, because I'm back at that point in my life where I'm dreaming big. And I'll tell you what I'm dreaming right now. We can maybe go back and revisit this. But currently with the Righteous and Rich project, people are like, oh, the brother left the da'wah. And, what's he doing? He's now just involved in business. People don't realize what we're actually trying to do. You see, whenever Allah talks about jihad in the Quran, Allah talks about, not whenever, but most of the times when Allah mentions the jihad of the wealth and jihad actually in terms of the body in the battlefield, Allah mentions jihad of wealth first. Economic power is essential to, even just spread the message, let alone, fund a military and all the other stuff that comes with it. So that jihad with your wealth was mentioned first. Sufyan al-Thawri, rahmallah, he used to say, al-mal huwa silah. Wealth is a weapon. We use it to defend ourselves. We use it to be free. We use it to not be under the influence or the pressure of people that have wealth. When you look at, for example, the Zionists, they are a minority in the world, right? They don't have a lot of resources that Muslims have, yet they are literally in our neighborhood, and they're screaming and they're murdering and they're spilling the blood of innocent women and children. They're blowing up heads. They burn down a hospital with patients attached to the IV trip, and no one said anything. The media didn't even publicize it. You know why? Because they got money. That's one thing that they made sure. They made sure that they had money. Look when it came to boycotting, everyone very quickly realized, wait, they own everything. They don't literally own it, but they almost own everything. They almost own everything. They put themselves in positions of economic power so that what? So that they could have influence. So I'm at that stage in my life right now. I'm like, you know what, bro? We're going to create a better economic, position and system of leverage for the Muslims than they have. That's what my mission is right now. That's crazy. Well, you're telling me you're gonna get that. You're trying to get that Rockefeller money. You're telling me you're trying to get. I'm saying yes and more. Not just for me.
I'll grant you that, bro.
I mean.
So let's take it a step back. So you said that from when you were a kid, you had the people close to you giving you that positive reinforcement, those words that uplift you and they made you think that you could achieve this, you could conquer the world, essentially. So when you got older, you still had that. Then out of nowhere, you had these people in the dawah. They started putting limiting beliefs right there, and it didn't affect you till later on with your own experience. So what do you do now to be able to essentially cut that off? block it from anyone else or anything coming to you, but more importantly for yourself, like when you are in the trenches and you're
That's a,
experiencing that difficulty.
that's a very good question. So for me, the foundation to having positive thoughts is knowing Allah. You know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where the Prophet said that Allah said, "Ana inda dhanni abdi bi," I am as my slave thinks of me. So if you believe and you believe that Allah is merciful, he will be merciful to you. Allah will be that way to you. If you believe Allah will be, you know, he will destroy you and annihilate you, yeah, then he will. Then he will. Why? Because Allah has told you I am merciful, and you've then gone and believed the opposite, which is a disrespect. Right? Even though Allah is saying, I will forgive you, you're saying no. Because Allah is perfect, and and every single characteristic of his and what he does is perfect. It's great, it's beautiful. So it doesn't make sense for you to have bad thoughts about Allah. Like, for example, when it comes to making money, I have good thoughts of Allah. Allah owns the kingdom. It takes him a second, not even a second, less than a second, to give me Rockefeller money, to give the Ummah Rockefeller money. It takes like that. Like that. So for me to think that, you know what, no, it's not going to happen, that's me really thinking bad of my Lord. That's me thinking bad of my Lord. Right? So the foundation of positive thinking is good thoughts of Allah. And the foundation of good thoughts of Allah is knowing who Allah is, which is why I was obsessed with the names of Allah. That's why, one day I'm going to go back and finish that series that I started twice on the old Nasir Session YouTube channel, but the names of Allah Azza wa Jal. I'm gonna go back and do that. I'm gonna go back inshallah ta'ala and finish that, because when you know who Allah is, you can't help but be positive. Like how I'm like you have to deep it. Ibrahim alayhi salam is being thrown into the fire. Yeah, he's like, Hasbi Allah, Allah's gonna take care of him. And then he has such positive thoughts that I'm gonna be in the fire, but I'm gonna be okay. And he's certain. And what does Allah do? He changes the fire until Allah commands the fire to be calm and peaceful for Ibrahim. He's in the fire who would burn. But he had such good thoughts of Allah and such certainty, Allah made the fire calm and peaceful. But I just want to mention one thing. You know what it is? This is not some like wishy-washy stuff. This is not like affirmations and the type of stuff that disbelievers they talk about. This is real. Like, why is it that we need to guard our thoughts? It's because from people that speak negativity, guard our thoughts from people that speak negative words. It's like a word can destroy you, man, and a word can build you. Yesterday I was with a brother who is just getting attacked by some people in the UK verbally. You know what his brother was going to do? He was going to commit murder. So literally, look at the effect that words can do. This brother, he's trying to change his life. He's trying to be better, right? And I'm not in this. I'm not really involved too much in helping the brothers from the streets that much, because I'm not there anymore. I'm in the UAE, but I still have connection with a lot of brothers from back in the day. So this brother's trying to change his life. He's struggling with his deen, but he's trying to be good. He's trying to leave the streets and whatever have you. So someone attacked him and started saying some stuff. You know what he said to me? He said, "Akhi, look at what he said." This one statement, Akhi, it almost reduced him to tears as he was telling me, because it was so hurtful. And he was like, "Tell me why I shouldn't go and take my gun and put it in his mouth." I mean, that's what a word can do. It can take a person to murder. It can take a person back to jail. It can make a person cry. Akhi, he jumped on a plane. He came, spent a couple of days with us. So we're chilling, we're kicking it. Akhi, we had one sit. I said, Wallahi, I said a few words to him, and he completely changed. He completely changed to the point where he's like, I've got hope in brothers. I've got hope in Islamic Brotherhood. I feel like there's hope for me in the deen. I feel like I can make money. I can make halal money. Just by a word. Just by a word. And I want to mention, so that the viewers can take a benefit. This is perhaps why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Al-kalimatu tayyiba sadaqa." That the good words are a charity. Like, if you've got nothing to give, to the people, you don't have money, I give them good words. Just at least give good words. Don't come with that dirty toxicity that's in you and to spew it out on everyone else. Just give people good words. And what's the beautiful thing? What we know that if you give for Allah's sake, Allah gives back. And Allah doesn't say He will give you back exactly what it's not like this is actually a way to maybe even to get a rizq from Allah, right? Maybe it's even a way to get money. That I don't have money to give, I got good words. Let me give good words. In return, inshallah, you get good words and more. You might even get money and rizq from Allah in return. So it's something very important in our religion.
But real talk though, the was that comes
Mm.
in those deep moments, like it's one thing to learn the names of Allah, it's one thing to, have this taqwa, this yaqeen when let's say things are good or things are okay, or even when things are kind of bad, but when things are terrible
Uh-huh.
and the was is hitting hard, like how do you keep that tawakkul? How do you keep that yaqeen when you have like some brothers they start having suicidal thoughts. A'udhu
Mm.
billah. Some brothers start having thoughts of leaving the religion. Some brothers start having thoughts about doing haram, doing things where it's like they feel like they're at the very end, like they're at a cliff and they're about to be tipped over.
Well, a very good question. I love it. So Imam Ibn Qayyim, he's got this book. I've got it right here. It's called Ad-Dawa Dawa. And in this book, he basically mentions that there's four things that you need to protect, right? Four things that you need to protect. And when we come back to the whole issue of waswas, you can see how it makes sense. Because number one, you need to protect your eyes, your thoughts, number two, your words, number three, and your actions, number four. And he said it's in this order specifically because a person never did an action that was haram or bad or negative. And by the way, this can apply to religious, spiritual actions and also actions of success. Like in stuff that's permissible. You want to succeed in your business, you want to succeed in terms of whatever it is that you're doing, you're in your relationship. Like no action, period, happened that was negative, except that there was a conversation that was had prior. Right? You uttered something, you said something. Words always precede action. And what precedes words? Thoughts. You only utter what you think. Right? You only, even though some people they think quick and speak quick, but they will have that thought. Then what precedes thoughts? And this is the answer to your question. You're having negative thoughts. What's worse? Person suicidal. It's hard. What precedes negative thoughts? Your eyes and your ears. What you see and what you hear. If I feed my brain through my eyes, if I feed my thoughts through my eyes and my ears, negativity, pain, suffering, my thoughts will be negative, pain, and suffering. But if I feed my thoughts, Allah is Ar-Rahman, Allah is Al-Wakil, the one who's going to take care of you. Allah is Ar-Razaq, the one who's going to provide for you. Right? If I feed my thoughts stories of the prophets when they were in those situations and how they came out of it, if I feed myself thoughts of the Sahaba and how they're in this situation, how they came out of it, if I feed myself words of encouragement from those that are around me, solutions to solve the problems that might from the people around me, then my thoughts are going to be a consequence of that. But if what I feed myself is negative input, then my thoughts will be. But someone say, but I'm not feeding myself negative input. I'm not feeding myself anything. No, you are. When you're not feeding yourself anything, what you're feeding yourself is the whispers of shaitan. Because the Prophet ﷺ said that shaitan, the wolf eats from the stray sheep. So when you're alone, that's when shaitan comes to you. So some brothers are like, I'm not even with the brothers. But it's not like I'm with the devils. No, you are. You're not with the human devils, but that's when the jinn devil creep up on you. It's like there's no one there. And this shows you the power. This shows you the importance, akhi, of taking care of your thoughts. Is that what's shaitan's weapon? Shaitan can't make you do haram. He just throws a thought in you. He throws a whisper and he tries to confuse you between your whisper and your self-talk, your internal dialogue. Is this a whisper or is this me? No, he's trying to show you that what you think is you is his whisper. Do you understand? So that's the only way shaitan even had entry. So that's why we have to protect our thoughts. Does that
Hmm.
answer your question?
It does, but when I think about it too, it's we both have ADD, ADHD, so our minds are all over the place, and I'm
Yeah.
sure everyone today's age, their minds are all over the place. So the question would be, how do you guard your thoughts then? Because we have the salah, we have
Yeah.
dhikr, and before Islam, I used to meditate. So every now and then, I still try to meditate. Can't say that I do it that often, but is there anything else that you would recommend to someone to be able to guard their thoughts?
definitely. There's loads of things. So number one is what you keep around you, right? The input that you have. So I would actively make sure that I'm hearing things that remind me of Allah, of the mercy of Allah. I'm always, and I'm eliminating anything that's going to be a source of negativity. I'll give you an example. I'm not on Twitter. And I know I could make a lot of money being on Twitter, and I could probably have a lot of impact in terms of that or being on Twitter. But that place is toxic, and I don't want to see it. I don't want to have access to it. Like, as in, I actively left that behind because that is something I just don't need. I don't need. The second thing is, I've made it clear to people around me to not bring me that negative stuff. I don't want to. Actually, I have very tough skin. Wallahi, alhamdulillah, I've got very tough skin. I'm still human, right? I still feel pain when someone throws something at me that's painful. I just don't bring it to me. If you bring it to me, I'm not gonna block you because you're a Muslim. You got rights, but I'm done. I mean, you negative people, I can't be around them. So that's the first thing. Bring positivity around me. Remove negativity from me. Here's another thing, right? Is have disbelievers call it affirmations. I'm not gonna call it affirmation. I don't really like that word because affirmation is just, to me, it's like a guy just sitting in the mirror who's like, I'm great, but he doesn't do anything. But what I'm talking about here is have a word or a sentence or a phrase that you say to yourself to be like like when a car breaks down, you give it that jump start. To be that little jump start for your mind. I'll give you an example, right? So when it comes to work, sometimes, akhi, you don't want to do the work. Like, my passion is with seeking knowledge and giving da'wah. Like, genuinely, that's where I find utmost peace and joy. So sometimes I'm like, you know what, akhi, I'm reading this book. I cannot be bothered to do the work. So now I remind myself what I said to you at the beginning, right? Is that for me, this is a type of jihad. It's financial jihad, right? Jihad is you defending yourself and the believers and supporting the believers and supporting the deen of Allah in some type of way. And this is a way that the Prophet and his companions did use. And Allah mentions it in the Quran, with your money, with your wealth. So when I sit at my desk, I remind myself, I said, I'm a mujahid. That's what I say to myself. I say, Imran, this is jihad. I say this to myself. And when I say that to myself, it protects my thoughts. So whatever the situation is, I was reading this book, actually, right? It's a book that's the biggest seller. It was the biggest seller in the whole of the Middle East. It's called Fatatni Salah. Okay? And it means a prayer missed me. So the author, I don't think he's like a sheikh or anything, but he's just talking about how he used to miss prayer and how like he completely changed his life now, and he talks about his journey, about how he, as a layman, got onto praying salah. So he read like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. He read like Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins, and I'm pretty sure you also read this book called The Magic of Thinking Big. Like I know because I read those books, I can see. But it was amazing how he applied that stuff to the salah, and he's bringing ayat and hadith. It was beautiful. So one of the things that he mentions is, he says before you pray, he's got a chapter. It's called "You Are Your Thoughts." You are your thoughts. And he mentions that one of the reasons that you don't pray or you don't enjoy your prayer is because you tell yourself the prayer is going to be hard. So he said, tell yourself the prayer is going to be great. And then he mentioned a hadith of the Prophet, which really blew my mind. Because the Prophet, what would he say to Bilal? He would say, Ya Bilal, arihna bis salah. Okay, he said, Ya oh Bilal, grant us relaxation through the salah. He was saying, look at that. The Prophet's telling you how he thinks about the prayer. Like before he's gone into prayer, yeah, Bilal, bring us relaxation through the salah. Like do the adhan, let's pray. So you see, that shows you that you need to come to the prayer with a positive mindset. So he said, one of the things that I started to do, because in my mind I used to think the prayer is going to be, I'm going to relax when the prayer is done. That's what we think, unfortunately, right? He's like, what I'm going to say to myself is, no. Salah is going to bring me peace. And he goes, and when you keep reminding yourself of that, your brain starts to think like that. And your brain is a fertile soil. Your mind is the most fertile soil. Whatever you plant in your mind, it will grow. Plant a negative thought, it will grow into a negative statement or action or belief. If you plant a positive thought, it will grow into a positive statement, action, or belief. If you do it now, I promise you, salah will change. So, and then the last thing I mentioned, sorry, there's other things to mention as well, but we can go on, is Akhi, you got to do jihad with your thoughts, man. Let's not forget that. Like Imam Ibn al-Qayyim discusses this in his book Ad-Dawah Dua. He says, you have to fight it. Like, this is actually a type of jihad. When you're fighting your thoughts and you're fighting the whispers of shaitan, this is actually a jihad, akhi. You're fighting the devil, man. You're at war with shaitan, the enemy himself. So, and look, akhi, when you go to battle, you're gonna get scars, you're gonna get wounds. Some days you're gonna lose, some days you're gonna win. But it could be that Allah chose that battle for you.
Hmm.
Allah said, this person, I'm not gonna test him with jihad with wealth or jihad on the battlefield. I'm gonna test him with jihad with his thoughts. If that's the case, don't worry, akhi. Allah chose you for that because He knows you're built for it. So go to war with your thoughts, and eventually, you will overcome. Allah will give you the
SubhanAllah, actually reminds me a lot because there's a lot of brothers that I helped to overcome pornography, and that's a huge jihad right there,
truth.
where you have to really overcome lustful thoughts that are almost compulsively being thrown into your mind on a day-to-day basis. And it's like you said, Allah put you there for a reason. It's because you were meant to be there, you were meant to handle that. And it's only until you actually conquer that He sets you up for the next quest, the next mission.
100.
So bro, you had said knowledge in this, and basically knowledge is a very important key aspect of this. How do you balance all that? Because if you're in business, bro, like I know what business is. Maybe a lot of people might not understand the time commitment and
Mm-hmm.
energy commitment, life commitment that comes to business.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find that balance?
So, look, number one, akhi, I know why I'm doing business, right? If people are doing business for business's sake, i.e., for the money that comes out of it, then I understand why you'll struggle to balance. Because you're only doing because you're doing this for the outcome, which is directly connected to the business. But for me, the business is a means. And I know a lot of people start off doing business because they want it to be a means to hijrah or this or that, or financial independence, or location freedom, or whatever you want to call it, right? But the fact of the matter is that they lose sight of the goal halfway through. For me, I find solace in the statement of Abdullah ibn Mubarak, who was a mujahid and a scholar, great scholar from the Imams and Salaf. He had his own madhab, actually. He was at the time Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam, Abu Hanifa and the rest of the Aimma. He used to say, لولا فلان وفلان ما اتجرت. He would say, if it wasn't for so and so and so and so, I would never do business. I would never do if it wasn't for him and him. I.e., what he means is I'm doing business to take care of those scholars. He didn't mention who they were, but his point was that I do business because I want to support the scholars. That's what he was saying. I want to make sure these scholars, these great imams of the Salaf, they can just work on teaching. So I started going in on this because I wanted to fund the da'wah. I wanted to be able to just do da'wah at the highest level and money not be a problem. And just money just not be a problem. I want to run a global da'wah campaign. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I told you, I want, and now I'm still in that trajectory. Why do I want that Rockefeller Money Act? Or I want, and it doesn't have to be me, but to help Muslims make it. That's why we provide sales and marketing services at the Righteous and Rich. That's one of the reasons there's so many different verticals in business I could have gone into. But for me, it's like, okay, what's the number one thing that's going to help Muslims get that Rockefeller money? Sales and marketing. So let's double down. So every day when I'm doing what I do, I know why I'm doing it. So that's why it's actually hard to do business for me. Like on a normal day, it's hard. Like I have to pull myself away from what I actually want, which is study.
Hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's about knowing why you're going in. There's other things as well I can mention, but I don't want to make it too long. I feel like sometimes I talk a lot.
You mentioned no, bro, you're good. You mentioned a very like key point is that you'd rather be studying,
Hmm.
meaning that your heart is still in Islam. Your heart is in seeking the knowledge.
Mhm.
How do you stop yourself from getting obsessed with the business or with anything else? Because that's a big thing. I mean, for myself, I will say for myself personally, and for anyone who's extreme in this way, we tend to get obsessed. We want to go all in with something,
Yeah.
but that's counterintuitive. That goes against how it's supposed to be in Islam. Because if you become obsessed with something, then you immediately you stop to put Allah first.
Mm. No, 100, like 100, 100, man. And it runs deep. It runs deep. You know, a question some people might have though. They might say something. They might say, "Ah, but I don't have anything I'm that passionate about. I don't have anything, or forget passion. Passion, like I don't have anything that means that much to me, right? Like passion is a word that just gets thrown around. Like they don't have, I don't have anything that means that much to me. So I think that's a problem. You know, when someone says to me, I'm doing business, why? Oh, because you saw some guy online who's just like flashing Rolexes in cars, and you're like,
The
I
gurus,
want to do it too. What was that?
the gurus.
Yeah, like it's like, bro, like have a reason, have a reason. That way you have a north star. And you know, just on the note, because some people might be like, well, you know, everyone likes the idea of studying and seeking knowledge, but not everyone actually likes to study and seek knowledge. There's a difference between liking the idea. I don't think anyone dislikes the idea. And I read primarily in Arabic, you know, Sharia books, but I also read uh, English books. I read history, I read business, I read, you know, so on and so forth. So, you know, there's a quote I actually heard from a disbeliever that really, 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 really was beneficial, man. He said, read what you love until you love to read. He said, read what you love until you love to read. I can promise you one thing. There is going to be something that you would love to read. It can even be fiction. There's going to be something that you love to read. Read that. Don't worry. Everyone else is reading about business. You don't love to read business. Don't read it. Everyone is reading about history and this. And don't read it. Don't read it. Read what you love. And I'll give you a clue to find something that you love. Find what you hate. Find what you hate. The opposite of that is what you love. For example, let's just say right now you're in a marriage and you're really struggling. What you love is the opposite of that. So you might now read on how to improve your relationship. I promise you will never put that book down. If in the middle of you reading, you're actually going through that pain. Let's just say, for example, as you do, you help brothers who are struggling with porn addiction. Read something that's going to be it's going to help you to make your brain more resilient in that context. I'm sure you may know some books that you can recommend people, you know, that are struggling with that. If you're struggling with that addiction in the middle of it, you'll be I promise you'll never put that book down. It will become something you love. And I'll give you an example. For me, you know, the thing that I absolutely detest is
Mm.
is management. Like I used to just detest that. And I used to look at these management books inside, you know, the uh, the bookstore. I was like, I'm never gonna get caught slipping reading this. I'm literally looking at our books right here. Like, you know how many management books I've read in the last year? I read a book on the Scrum method. A book on the Scrum method. You know, for people who know how to manage like small teams, especially in like tech space, they don't know what that is. I'm like, bro,
Mhm.
you know why I read that? Because the biggest problem I had in my business was just getting my team to perform at the best level. So I was like, this is
Yeah.
KA deficiency. So now the reason I read it is because I had to do monkey management with my team, which was taking me away from reading, which I actually love. So I was like, you know what? I need to read this, and I enjoyed it. I read it. Now I actually love reading books on management. Like I'm not even the manager. I don't even have the manager position in my business. I'm the CEO. I have more of like a visionary strategy type of role. I'm also like branding and marketing. I have a heavy role in that. But Abu Bakr, my partner, he's the CEO. He's the chief executive officer. Sorry, the chief operations officer. Sorry. But I'll read a book for him and then tell him because you know, as he said, read what you love until you love to read.
Mhm. That's very interesting, man. Because when I see these gurus, every single one of them will tell you, "Oh, you need to go hard. You need to work hard. You need to." Some of them call it nightmare mode, where you're working 12, 14, 16-hour days. You're not even getting any sleep. You're sacrificing everything, the time with your family and all this stuff. And anyone, they see this and they see that they're successful with XYZ. So then they think, in order for me to achieve that same success, I have to replicate that. I have to do that same exact thing. But then the real way to success, Allah has already told us in the Quran, is you focus on Him, focus on the akhirah. Focus on the akhirah, you'll have the dunya and the akhirah. Focus on
Mm.
the dunya, you'll have neither,
Yeah.
right? So the
100.
main thing is many of us get lost in that state right there because it's easy to say, oh, okay, yeah, I have to focus on the akhirah, I have to focus on Allah. But then when Allah puts you in that moment where you have to get all this work done, or you have to do all this outreach, or you have to apply all these different jobs, or something like this, or you have $10 in your bank account, or you have to pay this bill over here, whatever the case might be, Allah's putting you in that position, and now you start looking at this other advice that the non the non-Muslims are saying, and
Mm.
then now you think, oh, maybe I have to do that actually.
Mm.
Like, did you ever experience this?
So here's the thing. So I work very hard, right? And I work very long days. But in terms of my business, I don't think I've ever worked a 10-hour day in my life. Ever.
SubhanAllah.
I can't. Even if I try. But I work all day, right? So doing dawah is work. Seeking knowledge is work. Taking care of my family is work. As in, like running errands. Taking care of my parents is work. I have a very active, I very seldom rest. For almost 10 years, I never took a day off on a weekend. Until recently, I was like, you know what? I actually need a break. Right? When I say take a day off, I mean regularly. Like I might have taken a break here or there because I just, my battery just died. But now, like, I actively try to take out time to rest and recharge. I'm always working, but not on my business. For me, the business, you're going to be shocked. Some days I just give the business, like, I'm CEO. I give the business like 4 or 5 hours. That's it. And I'll tell you the secret to it. Number one, barakah, right? Is blessing. Now, we can take a deep dive into this if you want, but I won't go into it too deep because this is a deep topic. But like, how do you get barakah? How do you get blessing? Blessing is the ability to do more with less. In 1 hour, I may be able to do what a man can't do in 10 hours. Right? So that's the help of Allah that comes. That's one. And I'll give you a tip. Make your intention for Allah's sake. Now, I'm not saying my intention is for Allah's sake, but I try and I hope that it is. And maybe because I'm trying to hope I make my intention for Allah's sake, I've connected my work to a spiritual cause, right? And anyone can do this. Maybe, like for example, you're helping brothers overcome their porn addictions. So it's like, that's crazy reward. Just connect that to a spiritual cause. And then what happens is because you're doing this for Allah's sake now, Allah helps you by giving you barakah, perhaps. So that's one. The second thing, and this is like what you might call practical, but I don't like to use that word because barakah is practical. But what you might call the non-spiritual thing that I do is my mindset is always, how can I take the most leveraged position quickly with regards to this? So let me tell you what my day is like now, and then I'll work back and tell you how it started. Okay, you know what? Let me start from the beginning, actually. So when I wanted to do business, I straight away realized I'm good at this, but I'm not good at that. I can do this quickly. This will take a man 5 hours. It will take me 1 hour, right? Like, I can get people's attention. I know how to sell something. I can learn this skill. I can produce. But management, tech, all that stuff, no, I can't. So straight away, I said, I need a partner. Now, people usually get into partnerships, but they don't know why they're getting into a partnership. Both of you do the same thing, or both of you lack the same knowledge that you need, right? I found a partner that literally can do the things that I can't. Abu Bakr, okay, beautiful. So now I'm not into that solopreneur stuff. And some people might be, and I'm not shunning it, but for me, I'm not into that. I'm not trying to be the guy that's doing the admin, the tech, the operations, building the funnels. I don't want to do that. So Abu Bakr, that's my guy. That's my guy. Me and him both. So I do my thing, sales, marketing. He does that. also strategy, vision, leadership. He does the other stuff. So then, okay, I'm like, now we're in a situation where we need to now do more. So instead of me taking on more work, let me hire someone. Let me hire someone that I can give some work to. Let me get a software that's going to help me get this done faster. Let me use AI that's going to help me produce this faster. So to the point where now, I have, alhamdulillah, I have an executive assistant. So this guy, he handles my whole calendar for me. He does my research for me. He will even do some of my day-to-day work for me. What I need is the brain. What I need is the brain that knows what needs to be done and to train them on how it can get done. And literally, he's doing my work for me. He's like, I'll get him to produce a presentation for me. I'll just tell him this is what the presentation needs, this is the angle we need to come at. Like, that's 10 years of experience. But now, in terms of like making the slides and doing this, I don't need to do that. So I've got a guy that does that for me. I've got, even when it comes to da'wah, when it came to da'wah, the reason I was able to do a lecture every single day, sometimes 2 lectures a day, and each lecture was different, is because I had a team that were doing research with me. So I would say, look, I want to do a lecture on this topic. Here are some evidences. Here are some books. Here are some points. Here are some things. I'll put it together quickly. Now you go and you get me more evidences. You do research for me. And that's, so you optimize. You try to get yourself in the most leveraged position. Like if I, for example, find that there's a bottleneck, like I'll read a book on a particular topic to put myself in a position of leverage where I can just get an entire man's 10 years of wisdom on a particular subject in 200 pages. So I understand it. The moment I understand it, I'm like, okay, cool. Now, instead of me doing this myself, how can I hire someone or get someone to do that for me with the push of Allah? And that's how you get to a point where you're like, I'm just working 4 hours a day. But actually, if you look at behind the scenes, like the leverage that I have, that's like my team, the ones who are just working with me, doing the specific tasks that I would do. It's like 25 hours a day. But I can't do that as a man. So I divide it amongst them. And then so on and so forth.
It reminds me of a captain of a boat. Like, what does the captain of a boat really do? He's just making sure that the boat is going in a certain direction, but everyone in the boat is taking care of every other aspect. Could the captain do the other things? Yes, but then it would take away from his main responsibility. I think that's what many people get twisted when they get into businesses. They think, I have to do all this, I have to do this, and I have to outdo myself, when in reality, you just have to leverage, like you said. So
100%.
I have a question now. With all this being said, because we're getting into business heavy, would you recommend business for every Muslim?
Not for every Muslim, no. But
Why?
not for every Muslim. Because some people don't build for it, right? Like, even you look at the Sahaba of the Prophet, some were scholars. Like, they all had knowledge, but some were scholars. And some were warriors. And they obviously had knowledge, but they weren't like the scholars of the Sahaba. And some were governors, some were managers, right? They were placed in positions of authority and leadership. That was their skill. And then there were some that were businessmen. They would transact and bring in economy for the Muslims. So everyone had their place, right? So someone might have if someone is like a student of knowledge and he just, like, I definitely believe students of knowledge should be independent in terms of their finances, and they shouldn't be like taking charity or be in a position of weakness when it comes to money. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to tell a student of knowledge, you need to start a business, because the amount of work and attention and that goes into that.
Mm.
Remember, I did it out of necessity, because I'm like, I can't help but have this big goal. So with the knowledge that I'm studying, like, I want to do so much more with it. So I'm like, okay, I need the money for that. So out of necessity, I had to go down this road. But most people wouldn't necessarily have to, right? And some people, they live a great life. You know, they have a great job. Maybe he's a tech guy who works remote. He gets paid good. He doesn't need to do a
So
business.
how does someone distinguish if they actually should be going into business or not?
You know what? It's a hard question to answer, because there's so many levels of complexity and sophistication why a person may or may not do it. But I'll tell you what I think people should get into business for, right? If you're a person you found that, maybe you, and this is not an excuse to not seek knowledge, at least at a basic level, right? But if you found that, your strength happens to be in, entrepreneurial stuff, then use that as a way to get closer to Allah. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that I try to remember every day. Hadith Sunan Imam al-Tirmidhi, where the Prophet ﷺ said, "At-tajir as-saduq al-amin," or kama qala, the trustworthy and truthful businessman. The truthful and trustworthy businessman is amongst the prophets, the truthful ones, and the martyrs. I can think about it. What does a businessman have to do with prophets and martyrs? Like, what business does the businessman have being amongst the prophets and martyrs?
Hmm.
Well, what do the prophets and martyrs do? They serve the religion of Allah. The prophets serve it with their mission and everything that they do, their da'wah. The martyrs serve it with their blood. The siddiqeen, the truthful ones, serve it with their knowledge and the spreading of the truth. The businessmen serve this deen by through their wealth. They use their wealth to do what the prophets and the martyrs and the scholars are doing. The mission is the same. أن تكون كلمة الله هي العليا, so that لا إله إلا Allah can dominate and be supreme. But some are saying, I've got the knowledge. Some are saying, I've got the blood and body to sacrifice. Some are saying, I've got the wealth. But it's the same objective. So I'm saying, if you can make that your objective, and you feel, I'm saying that's the objective. I'm going to ask you now, how can you serve that best? Can you serve that best by focusing on seeking knowledge and becoming a scholar? Can you serve that best by joining a charitable organization that is not one of these gimmicky charitable organizations that actually are businesses in disguise? But, can you solve that problem by raising children that are going to be the next generation of Muslim thinkers and worshippers of Allah Azza wa Jal? Like, where's your strength? Use your strength for that goal. Are you a doctor? Maybe you can, like there's one of our clients, Dr. Farhad, may Allah reward him, Ameen. He is a headache specialist. So he wanted to now take his service online, and his motivation, and he's so genuine when he speaks, is he's seen students of knowledge and scholars and imams not being able to do their best because they suffer from headaches. Like my sheikh, just this last week, he teaches me and a bunch of brothers every day. Like he couldn't teach us properly because he was suffering from extreme headache. So it's like, it's very common. I'm sure you know people that suffer from headaches and migraines. Sometimes it comes once a month.
That's
sometimes
terrible.
It comes once a week. You've seen it, right? So this brother, he's like, I want people to be able to worship Allah without headaches. Some people, like, this is genuinely his motivation. So he's connected his objective. He's connected his what he wants to do in terms of his work to the objective, which is to serve the deen of Allah. So that's my answer to your question. Find out how to serve the deen of, make serving the deen of Allah your objective, and then ask yourself, is business the best way to do it? Now, some people might do business out of necessity. That's a different story, right? It's like, I need to eat. And then, your mindset is not going to be, hey, I want the Rockefeller money. It's going to be, I just need to pay rent and do X, Y, Z. So objectives and all of that has a big play.
Yeah. So breaking it up, you have business on one side, and then you have either online income or supplementary income if you're doing it alongside your work. So now my question is, for the people who want to get into just starting to make something online, and then maybe one day transition into business, like what would you recommend in that case?
So when you say online, you mean like as in just building a personal brand?
It could be a personal brand. It could be, I don't know, maybe affiliate type thing. It could be selling.
So you mean like a side hustle?
It could start as a side hustle, right? Just starting to make something online, where it supplements what they're already making, or it could just be the main thing for them because they're not making anything at the moment, right? But then at that point, let's say they want to transition to business, but we could take a step back, like for the ones who just want to get started in it, what would you recommend for them?
So the thing is for me, yeah, is that I'm not really good with side hustles. I never did side hustles. I'm always just in or out. So I'm sure there's people that probably would be able to answer that better than me. But in terms of how to start something, right? The starting point is always here or here. So there's something called the 7 whys exercise. Are you familiar with it?
The 7 whys.
So on the Righteous Rich Skills Academy, there's a course that we have where we go through it, right? Let me do the exercise with you. The point of this exercise is to find out why you actually want to do what you want to do. Start with the why first. If you want to start a business online, if you want to start a whatever, let's get the why right first. Because the why is going to help us create a what that's going to be deeply, deeply rooted inside of your heart and your mind. Most people are doing things, they're doing the what, but the why is not solid, which is why they keep changing, and which is why they don't have the motivation or whatever have you. So let's start with why. Let me run the exercise with you. So let me ask you a question. You help people overcome pornography addiction, right? Or you want to start something new, right? We mentioned at the beginning that you now, mashallah, tabarakallah, going to branch out into showing people how they can kind of grow online and build their own social media brand and so on and so forth. You said that, right?
No, I just wanted to start opening people's minds to how they can make money online, because
Okay, cool.
everybody wants to break free from the matrix.
Right. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to ask you, why do you want to do that?
Because I was once in that same position.
Hmm.
I was once in that same position, and I know how difficult it can be and how frustrating it is to want to do more, but then feel like you can't. Or then, I don't know, maybe you have someone above you in your work and they're over here telling you how to do everything. Give me 1 second. This thing's bugging out over here. But you have someone in your work and they're over here trying to tell you how to do something, but it's like you can't do nothing because you depend on that job.
Hmm. Okay. So why, as in as in you can't leave? You can't leave the job?
Well, for some people, yeah. Some people, they can, like, imagine you have a brother or sister and they're working at a job. They can't pray because the employer is telling them, "Hey, listen, we need you to work. You can't stop and pray right now." Or you have a sister who, she's going to a job and they're trying to make her take the hijab off, and the
Uh-huh.
only way that she can survive and make money is to have to take that hijab off. It happens, man.
Okay, so then the question. Okay, but I want you to answer it, you personally.
Yeah,
What's your
me personally. So,
what's your
like I
thing?
said, for me, like I know what it's like to be in those situations where you have to hold your tongue, and then you feel like you don't have the means either to do anything yourself, nor do you have the skills or insight. You feel like you're trapped, like you're stuck. It's a terrible feeling.
Hmm. So why did you want to not be in that situation? Why did you not want to be in that job if you're trapped and stuck?
When I was a kid, you know how you had people telling you things when you were young. When I was a kid, my dad used to always tell me, if you're gonna do something, make sure you're the best at it and make sure you're the boss. That way you can set the rules, you can set when you work, you can do whatever it is that you want to do, and you're not gonna have someone over here commandeering you and micromanaging and telling you what to do, what not to do, and having your paycheck depend on this person.
Hmm. Why was it important for you to have that mindset of be the boss, be
It was
independent?
important because if I didn't have it, I would have just been comfortable, complacent. I would have accepted it and be like, okay, like, khalas.
Why is being comfortable and complacent bad?
Because you will remain mediocre for the rest of your life. You will never accomplish anything. You, whatever level you're at, you've you've capped. You'll
Why
never pass.
why do you want to not be capped? Why do you want to exceed mediocrity?
Because if you don't exceed, if you don't push for further, then essentially you're not really even living life. Essentially, you're just existing. You know, you're just like this. You're like a drone. You're like a robot, just going in, doing the same thing day in and day out, comfortable with what you have, but you're never really pushing for more. And imagine, I wasn't Muslim my entire life, so I didn't have this type of perspective that I can say now. But imagine on the day of judgment, Allah is literally speaking to you. He's like, you had all this potential, all this ability to do so much more, and you know it. You felt it deep down inside of you, but you were comfortable and you wanted to stay where you were at because you wanted stability. You didn't want to branch out into the unknown. You didn't want to trust in me. And as a Muslim, I can't have that. I could never stand in front of Allah and know that I could have done more.
Hmm. See, you see how deep it goes when you ask 7 whys. So now what we've understood is that the reason why, look, we started off with showing people how to kind of build something on social media, right? That's what we started off with. And on
Mhm.
the other side, you help people with pornography addictions as well. I'm sure whichever one we started, we would have got to the same answer, which is that, bro, I want to stand before Allah. I don't want to disappoint my Lord. I want to stand before Allah and I want to show Him that I took the blessings that He gave me and I maximized them for His sake. Am I right in understanding that that is why you're doing what you're doing?
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Beautiful. So now that I have that, now I'm going to explore what I'm going to do to achieve that goal. That's what you have to start with. Some people might just want to build a social media brand or whatever or affiliate because that's what other people are doing. Don't do it for that reason. Stop. I'll give an example. Right? Yeah? Let's just talk about the first, like the specifics, the mechanics. What's better, building out a brand on Instagram or running ads on Google? I'm gonna give you a different perspective. By the way, I'm pro personal brand. This is my bread and butter. I help people build out personal brands. You know what I'm saying? Like this, I built out many people's personal brands, and I'm for it. But I'm gonna play the advocate here. I won't say the name, but I'm playing the advocate. On Instagram, building or YouTube, you have to create content. That's taxing because I have to be creative. I have to record the content. I have to deal with backlash, right? Number two, it's not just creating the content; it's being consistent with it, right? Number three, I am trying to get people's attention while not looking for me. I'm hoping that I pop up on their algorithm whilst they're doing their own thing, and they see my ad. But Google's different, faceless. Right? I can run an ad, there's no face. I can run an ad, I don't have to put myself out there. Why? Because I've positioned myself in the flow of traffic. People are actively searching. Actively searching for what? My product or service. So let's just say someone's actively searching for how to overcome pornography addiction. What I do is I just bid for the keywords. Of course, it's more sophisticated than what I'm saying right now. But in essence, I just bid for those keywords on Google so that when someone searches for that term, I show up first. Number one. And let's just say that there's 10,000 searches for that word every day. Or 10,000 searches a month, which is more realistic. Do you know how much money you can make? But because everyone else was making social media brand personalities, you were like, I'm going to go in that direction. Wait, but you just wanted to help people. So you can stand before Allah and be like, yo, Allah, look what I did for you. Right? From the angle of gratitude, not showing off. Right? Not like that you're trying to say, Allah did a favor for you. But so it's like, when you start with this, you've stripped and rid yourself from all of these like external filters. And you're like, okay, let me start fresh. Like some people are like, let me just show me where the money's at, bro. I mean, I can do that. I can show you where the low hanging fruit is, but it won't be consistent. Like when you look at Rockefeller and these guys, bro, the reason why they got to become billionaires is because there was something deeper that was pushing them than just the paycheck. Any desire that you have, cars, clothes, money, women, whatever, halal, it could be 4 wives, this, that, Rolexes. You know, you don't need $1 billion to ever satisfy those desires. Private jets, multiple private jets, different car from every month, every week, supercars, that within 8 figures, you can accomplish all of those goals. So then the question is, why would a person want to become a billionaire? That's more money that he will never die having spent all that money. He would not die having spent all that money. These guys die and they just leave it behind for their kids. Why? That's the question. What do you think?
I'm not sure.
It's something more powerful. They want power and influence. They want whatever to do it because they want to make sure that the state of Israel remains. Right? Elon Musk. Why is this guy going hard till today? Let's be honest. Does this guy actually care about the environment? But he's got something deeper. Okay, let's assume he is caring about the environment. That's his religion then. Let's just his goal in life is I want the human race to be on Mars in case the planet dies. Okay, but I'm saying he's got some goal that he's convinced himself is bigger than he is. He's not working for a nice car. He's working for something great. Jeff Bezos, the guy who owns Amazon, he's created something called the 10,000-year clock. And this clock, basically what it's going to do is every 100 years, the cuckoo bird's going to come out, the clock will strike. And he said, the reason I've done this is because I want people, when they come for the next 10,000 years after me and I've passed away, to have the mindset of thinking about those that will come in the future. My clock is a symbol to remind them I was thinking about you before you came. I was trying to build a world for you before you came, so you do the same whenever that clock strikes. Now, bruv, if he dies as a Catholic, he's not going to get no good deeds, no nothing. But the point is that look at how he's working for something bigger than what he is. So if you really want to be, the reason why a lot of Muslims, they're just thinking about 6 figures. 6 figures, I don't even like that. I'm like, what a whack goal. And I know that goal might be really big for some people, but 6 figures, bro, that's just going to take care of me and a few loved ones. We're trying to get that money. Why? Because our goal is so big. Our why is so deep-rooted. So I know that's not necessarily the answer maybe you're expecting to hear, but I feel like this is where we need to spend a lot of time, is fixing this. Then when you fix that, suddenly, Akhi, you're able to achieve it. Because right now, I'm around brothers that are doing some crazy things. There's a brother I'm with, his name's Sam Amin. I'm going to try and hook him up with you actually on your podcast. It'd be a good addition, Allah Barik. This brother, Akhi, Allah Barik, he's a comfortable multiple 8-figure entrepreneur. He's in the real estate business. Now, the real estate business is riddled with riba. So he's on a mission to make the real estate business completely riba-free, right, for Muslims. And he had this crazy, cocky idea that he believed that with Allah's permission he could do, and he actually did it. Like he's got $100 million plus of Muslim money invested in real estate, riba-free.
Okay, no man, it's the same thing. I was thinking it's something else, but that's crazy.
Right, and you need loans and mortgages. No, let me show you how to do it. Right, I'm with a brother right now, brother Mehdi Tijani, and people have whatever they have to say about him, but I know him. I don't know his online version. I only know his real life version. So I'm not going to comment. I'm not going to comment on what people might see, but I know him on a real, right? So this brother Allah Barik, he feel with him. He always says, "I want the word of Allah to be most high." And you can see the guy believes it when he says it. So he's got something called Black Label, right, which is a community of high performing Muslim men. I've wanted to do that for years. I tried. I failed. I didn't do a great job. This brother actually created that community where there are some crazy, a lot of bad brothers that in Black Label, right? MashaAllah, tabarakallah. So he was able to produce a network, a community, a society of high value, elite performing Muslim businessmen. Allah Mabarak. Why was he able to do that? And most people are struggling to just keep their families together. It's because he had that big why. Because I want Allah's deen to be high. So let me get guys that are powerful and influential, that fear Allah, put them all under one roof because they're scattered. Let me get them all under one roof. So Allah, when a guy's why is big, he'll be able to find the what easily with Allah's permission.
Hmm. That's powerful. It's very powerful, man. It shows that you're very, passionate about this. And that's big because one thing that I had to learn along the way is that if I was looking for mentors, if I was looking for people that could teach me what it is that I wanted to learn, I had to see that they were 1000% in it. It wasn't just talking, it wasn't just some actions here and there, but like see it genuinely, like, and you can see it the way that you speak, like the passion behind it. But also, I'm part of your group, the Rich and Righteous, and I've been following your stuff for a long time. So I've also seen it firsthand for a very long time. And you're talking about the Black Label Group with Mahdi Tijani. Yeah, I'm part of that too. I'm not part of the paid one, not yet, inshallah soon. But I saw it. Like I saw it from the very beginning that he started it. I think I think it was in 2023 that he
Yeah,
started it.
yeah,
Maybe it was in 2023 or maybe 2022. But it's not been more than 2 years or three.
yeah.
My memory is very bad, but it's very good. Allahumma barik. So I know exactly what you're talking about. I can see that. I can see that. So I have a question now for you.
Yes, sir.
And this is, I want to say like a curveball because I don't think many people think about this. At least I didn't think about this myself. And
Mhm.
it's something that I was talking about with my wife and many other friends that I have. But, we get into business or we get into our work, whatever it is that we're doing, and we think, okay, this is our why, this is what we're doing, this is and this. But have you ever stopped and think if something happens in several years? Because the way that the world is going is very
Mm,
possible, right?
mm.
Like what's happening in Palestine and all this stuff, and how the world is almost just blindly accepting what's happening. Let's say that something really goes down in several years' time. Have you ever thought about what you have to offer when that time comes? Like, have you ever thought about developing skills outside of business or outside of the work that you're doing in order to prepare yourself for that time to be able to help the ummah?
Absolutely. So I actually just released a video on this topic 2, 3 days ago. It'll be a lot more than by the time this comes out. It's what happens if the USA and China go to war. Um, Allah says in the Quran, وَأَعِدُّوا لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ. Prepare for them as much as you can in strength. So three things. Allah says prepare as much as you can. Not like, I went to the gym. No, prepare as much as you can. Put your best foot forward in terms of strength. So in the context of Muslims being in a position of strength and power, especially in this modern day and age, there's a bunch of things that can bring you power. Number one is population size. Prophet Azam said, marry women that will have loads of children because I want you to have I want to have the biggest nation on the day of judgment. Right? This is an actual fact. Population size is one of the fundamental contributors towards a strong, nation. The second thing is economy. Have a strong economy. You got money. You got influence. You can do things that other people can't do. The third thing is military. And military directly comes as a result of strong economy and population size, which is why China is a threat. Because China's army is so massive. But you have to understand, right? You can come drop. You can come drop. But at least the soldiers on the ground that are going to establish the victory. Which is why America got run out of Afghanistan. Which is why America, the biggest superpower in the world, got run out of Afghanistan. They dropped they dropped that would shake the earth when they fell. But yet 20 years later, they went back with their tail between their legs. Losers. Likewise, right now what's happening in Gaza. Look, look what they did. They've made the overwhelming majority of Gaza
Unlivable.
unlivable.
Yeah.
They're that strong. Yeah, akhi, look, a year later,
It's still
they,
going.
akhi, they're not even close. They're not even close, right? So China right now, their army is so big, bro. It's that they, they're a threat. They're a threat. So population size and money helps you have a strong military. But there's other things as well. For example, geographical location, which is why Egypt is such a strategic country, because you know what the Suez Canal is like. That affects trade and everything. It's close to Europe. Turkey is in a very, 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 very interesting position on the global map because as a Muslim country, it's what? It's in Europe. Half,
Hmm.
half, like half of the capital Turkey is in Europe. So they're on their front porch. Do you know what I'm saying? When it comes to military strength, you've got countries like Pakistan who've got what? Who've got nuclear power. When it comes to economic strength, you've got countries like in the Middle East and the Khalij, they've got a lot of wealth, they've got a lot of economy, right? The issue is that we've got all of these strengths, but we're scattered, right? Indonesia's got the biggest population of Muslims. And then you've got Pakistan and Bangladesh, right? So we have these things. The other thing is access to natural resources, oil, gas, so on and so forth, right? Which we have as well. There's a bunch of big one, technology. Ooh, is a big one. Technological power. For Muslims to be in a position where they dominate with AI, with tech, with technology. People fight wars with tech. You saw what happened, right? I think it was in the there was that someone somewhere got hacked and like I think America was shut down for like 2 days or something. The people couldn't fly.
Hmm.
I heard about it because I'm not in that part of the world, but you know someone getting shut down America for 2 days. It's crazy if you think about it, right? So I'm saying there are all of these different things, and then for me the fundamental one is religious preparation. Like if a day like that comes, like you have the iman to stand that day. And the iman to not lose hope, and the iman to have trust in Allah, and the knowledge that of what to do right now. Like what is my obligation? What do I do in such a situation? So for me, akhi, the two ways that Allah Azza wa Jalla, I hope He gives me tawfiq to prepare, is economically and knowledge-wise. Those are strengths that Allah Azza wa Jalla gave me. I don't have access to be able to serve the Muslims with regards to natural resources or geographical location or anything to do with military, right? But what Allah gave me access to is Islamic knowledge and money. And you know when I said to you at the beginning, when I sit at my desk and I say to myself, yo, this is jihad. I'm striving for Allah's sake. I'm working, I'm earning money. It's because literally it's for these two things. When I'm seeking knowledge, I'm like, yeah, this is jihad. Right? Allah says in the Quran, وَجَاهِدْهُمْ بِهِ جِهَادًا كَبِيرًا. Do jihad with them, mighty jihad. With it, what is it? The Quran. The ayah is not talking about physical power, it's talking about the Quran. So I'm actively, in case, may Allah protect us. I know, the Prophet ﷺ said, don't hope to meet the enemy. Don't hope to meet the enemy. But if you do, then know that paradise is in the shade of the swords. So we're not hoping for destruction and chaos. And, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Just preparing.
but if I want to be in the most leveraged position. I want my Muslims, my ummah, my brothers and sisters to be in the most leveraged position if something like that happens. Which is why I'm saying, go do what you need to do to protect yourself. If you're a tech guy, build us a robot. Do something, like you know what I'm saying. If you want access
Hmm.
to natural resources, I was talking to a brother in my building the other day. Like, what do you do? He's from Afghanistan. I'm like, where's your dad? I don't see him around. He's like, oh yeah, he deals with precious stones. That's his trade. Like just casually telling me, yeah, like yeah, we buy and sell precious stones. We have like mines and stuff. Like I love it. Like whatever, he's got access to resources, natural resources, right? Or I'm not sure if that comes under natural resources, but like everyone's got to play their role.
Exactly. I'm gonna ask like a question to every single person that we get on this podcast because it's a very interesting question, man. Like yours is different than mine. You're saying that you would uh, build the resource or economic type thing,
Yeah,
and then also get close to Allah. Whereas for me, I would have said it's building the skills,
yeah,
right? But this is why I'm like so interested in what everyone has to say because at the end, they will all come together. and
Mm,
formulate the ummah, like
mm,
the strong ummah, inshallah.
mm. Inshallah.
Inshallah. All right, man.
Inshallah.
So with that being said, I don't want to keep you much longer, bro, because I
Barakallah.
know
I enjoy
it's
it.
late over there in UAE,
Barakallah fi.
Habibi. So with that being said, if you guys are interested in Brother Imran's work, you can go to his YouTube channel. I'll put it in the description box down below. If you guys have a business and you want to level that up, I'll put that link as well in the description box down below. And with that being said,
In
if you
fact, it's
wanna,
also add. In fact, it's also add.
yeah,
If you've made it to this point, I know someone's watching, you're struggling with pornography. And I'm telling you, bro, it's a disease. In my 10 years of da'wah, it's one of the most common issues that people come up and struggle with, akhi. And if you're trying to grow in your business or whatever it is that you're trying to grow in, akhi, if you're watching that stuff online, and I'm not saying this to attack you, I'm saying this as a brother to reach out to you out of concern. This will be a hindrance in growing. You already know this, I don't need to tell you. And this is something that Allah hates and dislikes, and it prevents success coming from Allah and barakah coming from Allah. Brother Anhalhi, mashallah, tabarakallah, he actually has a track record of helping brothers overcome this. So I would urge you at the highest level, please go to the link below. And Akhi, I know you're being generous and you're mentioning my thing, but I would like you to place your link on top of mine along with it. Because
yeah, I got you.
if someone is struggling with this, Akhi, you're gonna put all this effort and work into business, but then you go watch something you shouldn't watch, the barakah removes itself. So you put all that effort in, or we started running your ads or helping you with your marketing, but you still won't see that success
Yeah, you're
because
gonna ruin it all for yourself.
yeah, because that is a crazy sin. So let's and the beautiful thing I love, Akhi, about what you do, Akhi, you make these brothers feel comfortable. It's a safe space. There's no shaming. It's when you talk about it, like it's so refreshing to see the way you address it. It's like you actually care, and you're coming from a place of like, bro, like Allah tested me with this, and I've come out of it before Islam, and now I've come out of it. And I've helped many people come out of it. So you're talking to someone who you can really kind of find a comfortable space with, man. So I urge you guys, if you made it to this side, to the end, you're one of the real ones. So it means you're actually trying to learn and benefit. So actually now, start with what's relevant and most important. So let's get that sin out of your life. So check out Brother and Hans thing at the link below, inshallah ta'ala.
And Jazakallah khair, bro. I wasn't actually gonna plug it in, to be honest with you, but you're all right. You know, Allah says it that as a man, our biggest weakness is that it's our eyes, it's our desires. Like the man was made weak,
Yep,
where the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam even said that he fears for the men for the fitna, for the
absolutely.
women.
Absolutely.
So if a man, he could be doing business, he could be doing work, he could be doing anything, he could be doing amazing things in his life, but if he can't keep his lust in check, I don't think that he's gonna be having any barakah in the things that he's doing. So you hit the nail. You hit the nail right on the head, bro.
Love you, man.
Wa barak fikum. With that said, man, thank you for your time. It has been blessed. It was a great conversation, man.
Love you. I really enjoyed it,
And I'll try to repeat a dua that I know very briefly. It's Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.
man.
Good? On point?
Very good. Perfect.
Alhamdulillah.
Perfect.
Alhamdulillah.
Allah.
With that being said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.